Okay, see how it works? That's a quick way to set up lots and lots of patterns using copy and paste, slight variations of the rhythm patterns, and then some kind of a drum fill. Finally, before I finish this tutorial, now you would obviously want to create a lot more patterns, especially more fills. You need to have variety in fills. If you listen to real drummers, they rarely play exactly the same fill each time. And fills are again used to accent changes from one section of a song to the next, or the end of a phrase to a new phrase. Now finally, we've got our patterns in there, and they're loaded into patterns A1 through A8. I've just called up the Reason sequencer, and you can see the sequencer track for the redrum. Now, if I were playing drums in real time and recording them by triggering them from the keyboard, MIDI notes would show up in these fields. This is what's called a note lane. What we're going to do, instead of playing notes into this note lane, we're going to add a special type of lane to this track. It's called an automation lane, or specifically in this case, a pattern lane or a pattern select lane. So you can see my mouse moving around. I'm going to go back up to that button, follow my mouse. I'm going to go up here just to the top of the sequencer window underneath these tools, and there's a little icon there. If I let my mouse hover, it will tell me that is the Create Pattern Lane button. So as soon as I create this pattern lane, you'll see another lane appear down here. Here we go. Create pattern. And a new lane appeared. It's a little different looking from the previous one because, again, this is a lane specifically designed to accept pattern change information. That might seem weird or confusing, but keep watching. You'll see how it works. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be basically writing information into this lane with a little pencil tool. There's the pencil tool right there. When I click on it, you're going to see new fields populate this area of the sequencer window. And one of them will be a pull-down menu that allows me to select a specific pattern. Okay, so just follow the mouse. Here goes the mouse over to the pencil tool. And sure enough, new information popped up over here. I could change the time signature. I'm not going to do that here. I could change blocks. We'll talk about blocks later. What I want to focus on is this field right here that says pattern loop. And the default is currently set to A1. Do you remember that I created a fill that had a cymbal crash right on the first beat? I want to get our little drum song started off with a bang, so I'm going to select, instead of selecting A1 for the beginning of the song, I'm going to select the fill for A1, which was, I loaded into A5. So I've selected, I clicked right on that little field and a drop down menu appeared, lets me choose the bank. I'm going to leave it set on bank A, and I'm going to go down to pattern loop 5. And now with my pencil, I'll click right in that first measure, and I just put pattern A5 there. Now I'll switch back to pattern A1, and I'll put that in the second, third, and fourth measure. Let's mix things up. I'm going to go to pattern A6. Remember, that's the second fill for the second rhythm pattern. And I put that in measure 5. Now I'll go to A2 and I'll draw that in. I'm running out of room, so I'll zoom in, or zoom out rather, so I can see more music. So I have pattern A6 and then A2, A2. Let's do one more of A2. And then let's continue. I'm going to get the third fill, which is A7, and the third rhythm pattern, A3. And I can click this pattern into each measure individually, or I can click and drag it across so that it fills 3 measures. And now we're ready for our final fill. And pattern A4. All right, I'll zoom out a little more so we can see the whole track. All right, now let's rewind and listen to this. And what you'll notice is the drum pattern will change automatically. I'm going to pull this sequencer down a little bit and maybe scroll up a little bit on the drum machine, and you'll see on the drum machine these patterns changing automatically when I hit play. Okay, here we go. Okay, admittedly, not the most interesting drum pattern in the world. And it kind of just fizzled at the end, didn't it? It just stopped. Let's listen to the end again. Yeah, I'm going to create one more pattern. This is going to be the simplest pattern you can ever write, but you'll see it can be very musically useful. I've already filled up patterns A1 through 8, so I'm going to click over on B for a new bank of patterns. These are all empty. I'm going to click on B1 and watch this simple but useful pattern I'm going to create. I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to select the kick drum and put a hit on the first beat, and the snare drum, hit on the first beat, and that crash cymbal, a hit on the first beat. Listen to what it sounds like when I hit run. Not really interesting, but it's a great way to end a song. That's pattern B1, right? So I'll select with my pencil tool that's still highlighted, pattern B, and then I'll go down to B1 and I'll pencil that in at the end. Now let's listen to the end of my little song again. I'm going to start at measure 13 and we'll play to the end. Magic, isn't it? Okay. One last quick thing. This is the way you can get drums to drop out. What many students notice when they first start with Reason, anytime you load a redrum, it will start playing automatically anytime you start or stop the sequence, and it'll keep playing automatically until you stop the sequence. The way to get more control over when redrum plays, when it doesn't, is to again add one of these pattern lanes. If you want your drums to drop out, I'm going to select the eraser tool and I can just erase patterns and the drums will drop out at those points. Let's start in the middle here. All right, so what you learned in this little tutorial is how to add, using copy and paste, how to add variety and variations in your rhythm patterns, and how to create fills that go along with those basic rhythm patterns. Admittedly, my fills were dull and boring, but that was just because of limited time. You can be much more creative with your fills, but remember to try to make them sound like they're related to or fit in with your basic rhythm patterns. We also learned that we can add a pattern lane to a drum machine track and then pencil in where we would like each pattern to play. That's it for this tutorial.